What's going on YouTube? So nowadays, brands want as many SUVs in their lineup as possible, and Jeep is probably the best automaker at having a crossover for everyone. And today we're standing next to their smallest, most affordable, and possibly most stylish offering, the 2021 Jeep Renegade, which has a slew of equipment upgrades for 2021. So is this the subcompact crossover to buy? Let's go ahead and find out. So let's start off today by talking about what this Renegade here is as far as the trim level is concerned. So you've got 3 trim levels as the main, that's the Sport, Latitude, and Limited. However, we have a lot of different special editions. This is the brand new Jeepster Special Edition, and that builds on the base Sport trim level for a great combination of value and style. So starting with that style, what we have up here in the front is that really signature boxy Jeep shape. Of course, you've got the 7-slat grille. With the Jeepster Edition, it is going to be finished in a gloss black around these rings as well. And then coming over here to your headlights, these are going to be halogen headlights, of course, since this is one of our more affordable trim levels. But you do have the cool little Jeep Easter egg right there in the middle. And then down below, you have your separated turn signal indicator. But when you get over here to the side, this is where you can see one of the big advantages of choosing the Jeepster Edition. And that's the fact that it throws in these premium 19-inch contrast alloy wheels. This really is a very nice looking wheel, and like I said, it gives it a very premium vibe, even though this is a lower end trim level. Now, of course, you got your Renegade branding right there with Jeepster underneath of it. We do have a black mirror up at the top. It is going to be heated, and new for 2021, you have standard blind spot monitoring.
Now, of course, what the Renegade does so well is this squared off design here at the side. It really makes it look rugged, as well as just has a very classy look to it. Now, if you're curious, it's around 7 inches shorter than the Jeep Compass for reference. Now, as far as the rear design itself, of course, you're going to have that signature boxy look that's going to continue back here. So breaking down the design elements, we have these taillights here with the black plastic moldings around the outside edge. They're also going to be fully incandescent unless you go for the LED headlights up in the front. And then if we drop down, we have all of this black moldings to give it that rugged look, and you're not going to have exposed exhaust outlets until you get to the Limited trim. Now, for your safety systems, they have updated this Renegade for 2021 to include forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, as well as lane keeping assist standard across the board. Now, if you go for the luxury group, that will also throw in adaptive cruise control, as well as your auto high beam headlamps. But that's going to sum up the exterior design of this Renegade. As you can see, it has that cool Jeep design. But now let's go ahead and check out the inside. But before we do that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and also push that notification bell.
So on the Jeepster model, that's going to throw in the Jeep passive entry system as well as remote start. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, just grab behind the handle and it will. Now checking out the cabin. Just like with the exterior, we have a cool and kind of funky vibe to it that really just kind of makes this Renegade stand out from the competition. Now let's go ahead and talk about different interior color and material options, because there's not a lot to talk about, honestly. So the Sport model, as well as the Jeepster that is based off of that trim level, come with black cloth only. As you can see, the seat itself looks quite nice. It does have a design right there in the middle, as well as color contrast stitching on the sides. If you're going to want leather, then you're going to have to go for the Limited trim level. Now turning over here to the door trim, you're going to find the same material reflected up here. This goes all through this area. Of course, you've got little Jeep Easter eggs all throughout the cabin. This is one of them. And we also have one-touch auto up and down windows for the driver and passenger. And then checking out the seat itself, as you can tell, this is going to be manual adjusting with height adjustment. Now taking a look around the cabin and checking out the cabin materials, we do have a soft touch plastic that runs across the entire upper dashboard, as well as kind of this lower middle area. You've got a nice handlebar right there to grab on. Of course, as you move down, this is an affordable vehicle after all, so this is going to be hard touch plastic. However, everything in here does fit together very well and feels solid. Now start it up, put your foot on the brake and press this button, which does say ready for adventures around the side of it. It's kind of cool. Now taking a look at the gauges, they do have a very clean and simple design to them. Since this is based on the sport trim, as I've already discussed, this comes with the smaller multifunction display. However, new for 2021, the Latitude also gets the larger 7-inch display that the Limited already had. Now coming back to the steering wheel, we do have electric power assisted steering. The steering wheel itself will be urethane on this model. It's leather wrapped on the Latitude and above. And of course it is going to be manual adjusting. You can also get heating as an option and standard on the Limited trim. Let's go ahead and check the interior storage, because even though this is a subcompact crossover, the boxy design does help things out. So first of all, we've got our adjustable armrest, which is extended out here to make it easier to rest your arm on. Once we push that back, we can lift this open. And storage in here is pretty decent. This is actually nice and deep. It does have a lining down at the bottom. But let's go ahead and test the coupons out though, because that's, of course, is the real test. Yeah, looks like they're gonna fit in there just fine. Now up in front of that, we've got our 2 cup holders. This is designed to look like the taillight, so that's a cool touch. And then up in the very front here, we have got a large center bin, which is a great place for sticking a phone. And then you've got some connections above that. Now coming back here to the shifter. Of course, this has just your traditional operation, so you pull back the drive, bump to the left if you wanted to shift manually. There are not paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then heading into reverse, we've got the standard backup camera, which does come with active trajectory. Of course, as a subcompact crossover, there's not going to be an option for a 360 camera or anything like that, but the resolution on board with this one does look pretty nice. And then back behind the shifter, you will find an electronic parking brake. Now, just because this is the smallest Jeep does not mean it is lacking in capability. So you do have your various drive mode controls, as well as your 4-wheel drive lock right here. And then above that, we have our climate controls. Jeep is nicely including a standard dual zone automatic climate control setup across every single model, which, like I said, is a pretty nice touch at this price point. Very simple operation through here, and just like typical with Uconnect, you can make other adjustments up here in the display. We don't have heated seats on this specific example, but they would be standard on the Limited model. And now let's go ahead and check out the audio system. So we've got the standard 6-speaker sound system, which comes across the board. There is an optional 9-speaker Kenwood sound system available on all the models. So overall sound quality is actually quite nice for the base sound system. Okay, so now let's take a look next at our Uconnect display. So this is an area that's seen some changes for 2021 because you now have the standard 7-inch display on the base Sport model, and of course this model as well. Previously this was not included on those trim levels. Additionally, the Limited trim level now comes standard with the large 8.4-inch display, and it was previously the 7-inch display. Now I won't go into a bunch of detail about this Uconnect system since it is pretty much the same as in other models, but I will point out you do have standard Android Auto and standard Apple CarPlay. Now jumping above that, we've got a manual dimming mirror. And then up at the very top, we are missing a moonroof. However, the signature dual panel Jeep panoramic sunroof is available on the Renegade, but if you don't have it, like we don't have it, you're gonna have just an enormous amount of headroom due to that boxy design.
All right, so sitting in the Renegade's rear seat, the first thing that you're going to notice is probably how much headroom you have. Obviously, this is a square on the outside, so that translates to a lot of headroom, and you have 41 inches to be exact. Now, as far as your legroom figures, that's going to be 35 inches, and behind row seat position, I would say I have probably 2 to 3 inches of extra space, and my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. Now, as far as the features that you're going to get, you're not going to get really anything, especially on this model. So, this center area is just blank. We also do not have a fold-down center armrest, but you probably would be able to get that on higher-end trim models. So, walking up to the tailgate, it is, of course, manually opening. So, you just lift it up. And you're going to find 18 cubic feet of space behind the second row seats. If you fold it, that expands all the way up to 50 cubic feet. That is actually on the top end of the segment, so that square boxy design does translate once again to a lot of space here in the cargo area. Now, as far as how they finished it, we do have a really nice carpeting along the floor, and if we lift it up, we do have additional storage up under here. There's actually a lot of space, and then if you lift that up, you would find your spare tire. And then you can also fold the seats. They're going to be 60-40 split. Now, of course, here in your passenger seat, you're going to have a manually adjusting one. And if we open up the glove box, this is actually very surprisingly large. It's kind of on the narrow side, but it is very large when it opens down. So as far as the coupons, they can fit in there, no problem. And then up top, we do have a sun visor that is massive. It has a mirror, no lighting though, and you can also detach, extend, and then there's another extension at the end of that.
Alright, and taking off here in this Renegade. So there's two different engine options you can have on the Renegade depending on which trim level you choose. This being a more basic trim level, we're going to have the standard 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine, and that's making 180 horsepower.
Yeah, now if you do go for the limited, you're going to get the turbo engine, so it's a 1.3 liter turbo 4-cylinder that has 177 horsepower, but quite a bit more torque than this engine right here.
But as far as how the power feels, it feels adequate for a vehicle of this size. This is a very small vehicle, and you don't expect to have a lot of power on board. That being said, it does get it moving reasonably fast.
Alrighty, but just kind of cruising down the road, that's what this Renegade is made for, is just to cruise along the highway in comfort. And I'm pretty impressed with what we have to offer here. The ride quality is decent, even though it does have those big rims. I'm hearing a little bit of wind noise, but I will get a sound level reading going around 55 miles an hour so we can compare.
Keep in mind, it's extremely windy outside right now today.
We're sitting at 60.1 decibels, so that's pretty much on par with what I would expect out of a vehicle in this segment.
And while we're rolling down the highway, I will mention the fact that you just have amazing visibility in here. The shape of this vehicle does just give you so much side window, big windshield, big rear window. It definitely feels very nice to be able to see all around a vehicle, since cars are getting more and more like aerodynamic with smaller windows and stuff. This is very refreshing. So as far as the transmission, this has a 9-speed automatic transmission. Shifting is very smooth and stuff while you're underway. I will point out there's a little bit of a hesitation going from like drive and reverse. Waiting for that to engage takes a couple seconds, just enough to notice. But other than that, everything seems to be very smooth.
And you are going to have front-wheel drive standard, optional all-wheel drive, unless you go for the Limited or Trailhawk, which does have all-wheel drive standard.
Right, and like I pointed out earlier, you still have 4-wheel drive controls and stuff like that, because even though this kind of is small and cute looking, It does have real off-road capability, especially if you choose to have the Trailhawk version. That's really quite an off-road vehicle.
Now for your fuel economy, this one as equipped is going to come in at 21 city, 29 highway, 24 combined. There are a lot of different other engine options and all that, so it does definitely range depending on which trim level as well as what engine and drivetrain that you have. You know what time it is? It's airball and slam dunk time, so Drew will go ahead and start us off with the slam dunk today.
Yeah, so the slam dunk is definitely the boxy design of this vehicle. Not only does that give it a really cool exterior design that really stands out from the competition, but it also just makes this interior extremely versatile. Like we talked about, it feels very spacious in here. This is a subcompact vehicle, and usually that just feels claustrophobic and, you know, just kind of surrounding you. But this, you have so much space, so much headroom, and you know, it just feels very nice and open in here with lots of storage.
Yeah. Now, as far as our airball is concerned, I'm going to tie that into the price. So I'll just go ahead and read off these prices here. So the Sport is going to start at $22,850. The Jeepster is $24,990 on that trim, and then the Latitude is $25,080, and the Limited is $28,940. Now this one, when we add in the options as well as the destination charge of $14.95, that's pretty steep. It's going to come in at $27,985, and I just feel for that price point, almost 28 grand, you can get a little bit more out of something like a Subaru Crosstrek. You get a little bit nicer of a cabin and a bit more premium experience with more features.
But all in all, if you're looking for a really stylish subcompact crossover, this is certainly a great choice, and especially if you're looking for off-road ability, you have a very limited list of things that you can choose between. I think this really has just a lot of ability, a lot of character, and a lot of versatility.
Well guys, that's going to wrap up this in-depth review of the 2021 Jeep Renegade. We really appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far, that means you probably enjoyed this video or at least found it helpful, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and also hit that notification bell as well while you're at it. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.